Continuing our conversation today with Sheila Harmeyer, the Director of Talent Acquisition and Workforce Planning at CGI. Sheila, a lot of veterans ask about resumes. What's your advice for preparing and submitting a resume?
Yeah, so it's a great question, Dr. Lawrence, and I will tell you, I know that all veterans get some advice as they're going through the transition process. But from a hiring manager lens and from a recruiting lens, I would really first focus on the structure of the resume. Hiring managers are skimming your resume. They're really looking for some key points and nuggets that come out. And so first and foremost, I always like to start resumes at the top with your quick highlights. Things like, do you have a clearance or certain certifications in which you might have? Use that in bullet form, the things you want managers to know right away when they're looking at your resume. Following that, you'll go through your experience, maybe starting with a couple of sentences, highlighting specifically each role that you had, and then typically using bullet forms. That allows managers and recruiters to skim your resume and ensure that you get in front of the right hiring teams as quickly as possible.
And how about the length? Short, long, somewhere in between? What's kind of your rule of thumb?
Yeah, so usually I recommend having two different resumes. I like to start with your first resume being the long, all-inclusive resume. It's a great starting point because it gives you a really good look at what all of your experience was throughout your career. So start with that long formatted resume. That is used a lot more in the federal marketplace. And then you take that and you can use that to customize a shorter version of a resume, a 1 to 2 page resume, really pulling out the key points. It's always best to be able to have a shorter version of a resume that is customizable per role. And so that would allow you to build a separate structured resume.
What would be your advice to somebody who wants to create a really good one? Okay, I've got all that, I'm going to do all that, but I just really want it to be good and get noticed.
Yeah, so once again, the good and get noticed is really being very crisp on those bullet points, really doing your market research, understand what terminology that we use within the federal sector or the private sector, the civilian sector, however you refer to it, understand the terminology. So do your research and market research on the change in the terminology in which you would use. That's a really key thing. Also, when you think about acronyms, spell those out. A lot of searches are done based on keyword searches. So you need to make sure that the right words exist within your resume. So that's the last thing that I would say, which is a thing that a lot of veterans don't think about, is think beyond your military occupational specialty. Think about all the other things that you do within your week. And so one of the examples that I like to provide here is that most services have a motor pool Monday where they go through and review or go through a testing script in a sense of all of their vehicles that they have. That's similar to what we do in a testing environment. So think about all those other things that you do throughout the week and ensure that you're incorporating those as well in your resume.
Well, that's great advice, Sheila. For the listeners and viewers who might be interested in learning more, to include applying for a job at CGI, where can they go?
Yeah, so viewers can go to cgi.com/careers to look for opportunities at CGI.
Thank you for those insights.
Thank you.